ever get that feeling? Like you're seeing a version of someone that's, I don't know, almost too perfect. Like they're showing you exactly what you want to see, but behind it all, something feels off.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about a carefully constructed facade.
Exactly. And that, my friend, is the world we're diving into today. Narcissistic abuse. But not from the narcissist's point of view.
We're looking at the impact it has on the people they target.
Right. And to do that, we've got this fascinating transcript from a Spanish radio show.
It's called Mente Abierta, which means open mind. And it's amazing. It's like they've got a psychologist in the studio.
Oh, interesting. So they're breaking down, like, the clinical side of things?
Yeah, exactly. But the real power comes from the callers,
Yeah.
They're the ones who are actually living with the aftermath of this kind of manipulation.
Hearing those stories must be incredibly powerful to understand not just what narcissism is, but how it actually plays out in real relationships.
It is. They talk about the emotional aftershocks, the feeling of being totally blindsided by someone who is supposed to love them.
It's like that rug pulled out from under you feeling,
Yeah.
right? Where you thought you had the strong connection, this person who really got you.
And then, bam, the mask slips.
Yeah.
And you realize it was all an illusion.
It's wild how often that happens. Like, there's this one caller, Paco, he's an actor, and he talks about this relationship he had years ago, like 2 whole decades in the past.
Wow.
And he's only recently started to unpack what really happened. He even wrote a play about it, which, honestly...
Intense therapy.
Right, but it goes to show how long these things can stay with you. And it's not uncommon. The psychologist on the show was saying how often people blame themselves for years. They don't even realize they were being manipulated.
That delayed realization is so common. And they talk about this other case, too. This woman who was in an abusive marriage for 50 years.
50 years. That's almost unimaginable to be stuck in that cycle for so long.
It is.
Yeah.
And it just highlights how manipulative narcissists can be.
Yeah.
They're masters at twisting reality, making their victims feel like they're the ones in the wrong.
Okay, but how do they pull that off in the first place? Like, how do they suck people in so completely? I mean, is there some kind of narcissist handbook I missed out on?
Well, the psychologist on this show uses this term love bombing, which sounds nice on the surface.
Right, like who doesn't love a good bombing of affection?
Right, exactly. But it's more calculated than that. It's about mirroring back someone's deepest desires, their insecurities, everything.
So less genuine affection and more like strategic manipulation.
Exactly. They create this perfect reflection of what you want, what you need, but it's all surface. And when that mask slips...
Which, let's be real, it always does.
Always. That's when the real damage happens. You're left wondering what was real and what was just a performance.
And it gets even more complicated, right? Because it's not just romantic relationships. This isn't just about like finding out your partner's not who you thought they were.
Right.
Later in the show, there's this caller, Juan, and he's dealing with narcissistic abuse from his family.
Oh, yeah. Juan's story is tough. He's in his 70s, and he's only now starting to realize how messed up his family dynamics have always been.
70 years. That just goes to show how powerful those family bonds can be, even when they're unhealthy.
Absolutely. And there's this pressure, right? This idea that family is supposed to be this safe haven.
So to admit that someone you're related to, someone you should be able to trust completely.
Could be capable of this kind of manipulation.
Yeah.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
No kidding. Makes you wonder how many people are out there like Juan, putting up with toxic behavior because it's family.
Right. And then later in the episode, we hear from Alejandro, and she actually backs up what Juan was saying about family.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she talks about growing up with a narcissistic mother and the impact it had on her and her sister.
And how old are they now?
They're in their 30s, still trying to deal with all the messages they internalized as kids.
Like what kind of messages?
Oh, the classics. Never being good enough. Always feeling like you're falling short.
It's like that saying, hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. And the psychologist on the show actually brought up an interesting point. He was saying how these narcissistic tendencies, they become kind of pervasive in our society,
What do you mean?
Well, it's like we celebrate the need for constant validation, the whole look at me mentality.
Hey, I see what you're saying. Like social media is practically built for that, right?
Exactly. So it makes you wonder if we're normalizing some of these unhealthy patterns without even realizing it.
That's a really good point. Because I feel like there's a difference, right, between healthy confidence and, well, whatever this is.
Right. And that's the key distinction. Narcissism isn't about having a healthy ego. It's about masking insecurity. Deep down, they're terrified of being seen as inadequate.
Which is so ironic because from the outside, they often seem like the most confident people in the room.
Exactly. It's all an act, a carefully constructed facade. They need to control and manipulate everyone around them to keep up the image,
So the people closest to them.
become pawns in their game. And the saddest part, they probably don't even realize it.
Like they're actually oblivious to the damage they're causing.
It's like their own needs, their own version of reality, it's all that matters. They lack the empathy to see it any other way.
Wow. It's like they're emotionally colorblind or something.
Okay, but is there any hope? For the victims, I mean, and for the narcissists themselves. Can they actually change these patterns? That's the million-dollar question. I mean, the psychologists seem to think that with enough therapy, maybe.
So you're saying there's a chance?
It's tough, though.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have serious self-awareness to even start that process.
Which, let's be real, isn't exactly a narcissist's strong suit.
Right, like they'd have to have a serious wake-up call to even get to that point.
True. But what about the people on the receiving end? The ones who are being manipulated? What can they do?
He emphasized recognizing the problem, which, honestly, that's probably the hardest part.
Because it's so insidious, right?
Exactly. Like, you start to doubt yourself, your own perceptions.
Oh.
Especially if the narcissist is good at
Gaslighting.
yeah, gaslighting, making you feel like you're overreacting, being too sensitive.
Oh, look what you made me do. It's classic, right?
So the first step is breaking free of that, reclaiming your own sense of reality.
That's got to be a long, tough journey, though.
It's not easy. Therapy can help, though. Support groups, surrounding yourself with people who actually, care.
It's about rebuilding that foundation of support, right? So you can start to trust yourself again.
Exactly. Remember Alejandra, the caller who talked about her mom? She was in therapy, and it was really helping her.
It's amazing how resilient people can be, even after going through something like that.
It really is. And that's what I think is so important to remember. Narcissistic abuse, it can be devastating,
Absolutely.
but it's not a life sentence. There is hope.
I love that. There's hope for recovery.
For victims and, even for narcissists who really want to change.
This has been intense, eye-opening, a little unsettling, honest, but so, so important. Because, we're talking about this hidden world, a world that most people don't even realize exists.
It's true.
But the more we talk about it, the more we shine a light on it.
The more we can protect ourselves and the people we love.
Exactly. So if anything in this deep dive has resonated with you, even a little, you're not alone.
Seriously. Reach out. There are people who get it.
Yeah.
And there's help available.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And hey, keep learning. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. There's a whole world of information out there.
So keep those conversations going.
Yes. And keep taking care of yourselves out there.